Hello everyone, I'm Bradley Sward and this is my solution to day 6 of the 2025 Advent of Code festivities. I'm solving both parts, I'm doing it in Python, basically as always this time around, and the problem is called trash compact. So, in this case you have a series of numbers in rows and then you have an operation at the end and it's always going to be either a multiply or a plus. So they didn't make it any more complicated in part 2. But basically, instead of giving us everything in row order, where it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then the multiply, they give us, like they give like everything that they need in one row, they give it to you in one column, and you need to basically transpose that from rows to or from columns to rows so you can do the math. Because it's real easy. You either add everything together in the column or you multiply everything out together in the column and you sum up the values in each column to get your answer. So I get, I get 4277, blah, 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 blah. But just to say here real quick here, if I steal my puzzle data and I go back in here and pop it in, oops, oh, geez. All that for nothing. I'll do it again real fast because I'm not on my normal machine. I'm down on the floor doing this right now. And there's that. A little trickier than I expected to do. But then just to say, if I run this, I get my answers for part 1 here. I get 4, blah, 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 909. And then I do get the answer of 449, and then I get 909. Okay, so I do get the right answers with this code. So basically all I'm doing, for at least for part 1, we haven't talked about part 2 yet, is I get all the data, and it's not enough, it's enough data to put into a list of lists just from the start. And I basically just go in and for each row that isn't the last row, I set up and I say, hey, get me, turn all those things into integer values because they're all numbers. And so I just do that. So every row up to the last one, and then I separate out the operations. So that's what the -1 is. So the operations is -1, and then everything up, and then these are the operations. This is this row, and then everything else stores all the other rows that are not that row. So that's what the up to and including not the last row. And then the zip, basically zip is just the magic transform function. It'll take a bunch of rows, and that they're all the same length and everything, and then it turns it all, it just transposes them into columns, and then I turn that into a list. I can show you here. It's really, it's kind of cool how it all works out. So like the numerons, you can see there, this is every column of, because there's 4, it went from every, a million in a row, and now it's 4 in a column, up to 4. It doesn't have to be 4 every time, or maybe it does. Yeah, I get maybe there are 4 numbers regardless. I felt like in previous examples there weren't, but maybe it was just the way I set up my code before when it was an error or something like that. So, and there's the 4, and then the operations are just a parallel array or parallel list right next to it. And basically I just go ahead and I say for every item in there, if the operation is supposed to be a plus, sum them all together, and if it's not, product them all together, and then just keep going until you get your answer. So, and we did show that we do get the correct answers. Okay, so that was how you do part 1. So then for part 2, this took a little work. So, okay, so I opened the file. Okay, so this is a little different. So let me see about if I can get it all on one. Yeah, I can get it all in one. Whoops, I don't know where it went. Life is fun like that. Okay, so here we go. So there's all my code here, and just up to and including the data stuff at the end. Oh yeah, I can put it all in here. From the tricky part for me at least was that because we're used to just not worrying about the white space, but in these cases, the white space can be either on the left-hand side of a number or the right-hand side of a number. And that's where it took me a while to kind of figure out what to do. And I wrote a whole bunch of code to figure out where the line stops are until I realized that the characters start each of the operations, like where this star is, starts this operation, where the plus is, starts this one, and so forth and so on. So I rewrote my code here to handle for that situation. That basically I'm trying to figure out where that all is. I'm trying to find out where the stops are. So basically, if I find this, I subtract off 2 to get to the end point of the previous operation. And so like in this case, yeah, this is going to give me a nonsense number at the start. because if I go, this is the 0 point, and I go, well, back -2, well, I get rid of it. I get, that one we know we're starting from 0, so we get rid of that. But everything else is, well, if I start from 0, this is the 0 location, well, this goes to 2. But if this is the 4 location, well, 4 minus 2 will get me 2. And that's where my idea comes for where do I find my stops. So like in this case here, my stops are at, and this is for the real data, my stops are at 2, 5, 9, 13, 17, 20, yada, yada, there's 100 of them, 300 of them, or 400, or 1,000, or whatever it is. Doesn't matter how many. It's now sorted in order, so I know where the stop positions are. I know where, and if I know where the stop positions are, I know where the starts are, which is 2 over from where I was, right? So, so we know how to work the list. We have our stop positions, and then now the tricky part is, if we know the stop position, we just work our way backwards, figuring out the number from each individual digit, working top to bottom. And that's what this code is doing. It's basically saying for every stop, because when we have every stop, we're going to get some number out of it, or some value. Here, let me just show you what the values are. So like in this case here, let me bring back the old data so anyone who's watching can see what I'm talking about, and just meandering through nonsense. It's just a stream of consciousness of something that, I just haven't 100% thought out while making these videos. So just to say here, the values for this case are 356, because that's the 356, the 24, and the 1. So it goes down from the back end to the front end, and it just goes, are you a number, are you a number, are you a number, and it keeps going and adds, because it's just whatever the previous number times 10 plus the new one, right? To be like, this is 3, this is now 30 plus 5, and this is now 300 plus 50 plus 6, right? So that's how that goes to get those 3 values. And then I put the operation at the end because we need to add that because it's the multiply. And then if we do this for every operation that we see, and we reestablish that the new numbers and the operation were exactly where we were up here where we're doing this code. And I just didn't bring this over. I just or did I? No, I didn't. Oh, maybe it did. Nope, it's a little different here, but it's the same basic idea. I just changed it up just the same way to get to the answers, where you're just looking at a row and or just an element of your list, and you're just going, well, what are the numbers? If it's a plus, add them together, and if it's a multiply, multiply them together, because we've established the new numbers for each, because it's going to be the same number of numbers. It's just going to be the numbers are going to be different based on the different math. And that again gets me the answer of, in this case, that we've already proved it a few times over, that we get the correct answers. Again, I don't know if this is necessarily the best way to do it. I could imagine there's a lot of ways. Again, the trickiness came from where is this white space in relation? I don't know. Would you fill in an X? I don't, like a 0 on one end and X on the other. I don't know, because the multiply kind of ruins everything. If I multiply 8 by 0 by 0, I get 0, right? How do I know that those zeros were blank? So anyway, but again, the problem is solved. I'm not getting paid to continue to make it more efficient. It already solves and almost had, and it feels like an instant basically, right? So it feels like an instant anyway. Just see back one more time. And just see if it really is instantaneous again. Yeah, from my perspective, it gets me an answer almost instantaneously. How much better do you want it to be? I'm not trying to work for Google or anything to make it as possibly efficient as possible. All right, so if you made it this far, thanks for watching. As always, halfway done with Advent of Code 2025 now. Feels weird. Used to be like a quarter of it, but in a way, I feel like it's good. The problems are getting harder in a good way. We're not kind of just I'm just waiting for day 9 or day 10 is going to hit. There's going to be one problem that they always give you, one problem that takes forever to solve. And everybody seems to have a different take on what that is. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. See you in the next videos. Take care. Have a great day.